For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
This week on the Tons of Fun Power Hour here with your two favorite podcasters, we're going to get into a lot of things, but before we do that, Chris, how was your week this past week?
Pretty uneventful, really. Not too much went on. Just tried to catch up on some TV. Watched Cobra Kai this week. Watched both seasons of that.
Cobra Kai breaking major Netflix records.
Yeah.
It's been awesome to watch. Complete nostalgia feel for any of the younger kids that grew up during the 80s when those movies came out. I think everybody, at least a young boy-wise, watched Karate Kid and at some point tried to do the crane kick and, or if you fell down and got hurt, you tried to do the Mr. Miyagi, the hand rub to make the pain go away. But no, it's awesome show. It's done really well.
They touch on all that stuff.
They do a great way of weaving the old in with the new, so it actually looks like just a continuation of their life. And picks up, and you get the backstory of how those two, Johnny and Daniel LaRusso, how they ended up where they ended up in life. But yeah, no, I got 2 episodes left on season 2 to finish. And then, I can't wait for season 3 to come out. I'm glad Netflix picked it up.
Me too, yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with season 3. I'm not going to say anything because I want you to finish the last 2 episodes before we talk in any more depth with it. So maybe next week we can actually talk more about Cobra Kai.
Yeah, no, definitely. I will finish that. And if you're looking for something to binge, guys, I highly recommend Cobra Kai on Netflix if you haven't already watched it. Great show. Have nothing bad to say about it at all.
I seriously watched it in 2 days, so it's an easy binge.
It's 10 episodes a season, and each episode is only half an hour long, so you can knock it out rather quickly.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of other stuff on TV nowadays, but it's still something that you can sit down and watch 2 or 3 episodes before you go to bed every night.
Absolutely. So, Steve, how did you feel about Raw this week?
All right, listen, guys. I know we normally give you a rundown for the show and what we're going to cover this week, but after the cluster bleep that went on Monday night, we're jumping right into bell to bell and talking about the most ridiculous thing ever, which is Retribution. On a go-home show for a pay-per-view, Monday Night Raw, as Dave LaGreca tweeted out, we are here to destroy the WWE, and yes, we signed the contract. I don't know what the hell they're doing or where they're going with this. We talked last week. Yeah. I'm completely uninterested in what they did. Now you give these people contracts, so they're a part of the company that they're wanting to destroy. It makes no sense at all.
No, and I love that we talked about this last week, and then we talked about how little we were invested in the story then, and a few days later, we get even less invested in it because of how they changed everything up.
Yeah, less invested in it, and it completely made me not want to watch Clash of Champions on tomorrow night, on Sunday. Yeah. Like, I've completely just unbelievably turned off by everything that they've done with this. Not only does it make no logical sense what they're doing, then you have a 6-man main event to end the show, and the combatants from Retribution are named T-Bar, Mace, and Slapjack. This has to be a rib on something, right?
It has to be. And I think I saw on one of the rumor sheets this week that they said most people backstage were laughing at the segment.
Absolutely. Like, you're killing these people before they even get a chance to get off the ground.
Yeah.
There's not, and by the looks of it, everybody knows who the members of Retribution are. They're former NXT members. It's Dominic Dijakovic,
who's T-Bar,
Mace, who's Dio Madden, who was on commentary until he got obliterated by Brock Lesnar and then never got back on the commentary table again because he wanted to get back in the ring and start wrestling.
Sure, he's regretting that decision now.
Shane Thorne, who's Slapjack. And then I guess today they came out, me and him is what? Reckoning.
And then Mercedes Martinez is Retaliation.
Reckoning, Retaliation, and I guess WrestleVotes on Rumor Mill on K-Chat Seats at one point said that one of the female members potentially was going to be named Shatter. Like, who is coming up with this?
Now, don't forget the create your own Retribution name the other day. You know, I'm Tough Spaghetti and you're Crispy Boom.
Yeah, like, come on. What are we doing? And, like, you can't... Listen, we all know Raw, at the end of the day, everything runs through Vince.
Yes.
Vince signs off on everything. Doesn't matter what you write, what you come up with. Vince sits down before the show, reads through everything, is often rewriting segments as the show is going on. So he's rubber stamping everything that you see on Monday nights.
Yeah.
That's the way it's always been. That's the way it will continue to be until he's no longer around running Raw.
Yeah.
How does he sign off on this and think this is legitimately good for the business?
I really don't know. And that's been a big problem of mine with Vince. I mean, the man's still a creative genius in a way, but I think he's just, his finger's so off the pulse that this is showing how bad it is. Like, I remember a couple years ago, whenever Stone Cold was doing his podcast on the WWE Network, and he had Vince on, and it was an awful episode of Raw. And Stone Cold, you could tell, was trying to ask Vince, like, do you really think that was a good 3 hours of Raw? Right. And Vince literally sat there and said, yeah, I think that was very entertaining. And Vince isn't going to go and, you know, shit on his own product. But if he at least said, you know, something along the lines of, I think we have, you know, room to improve or something like that, you know. I thought most of it was good, but, you know, there's some things that I think we could do better. But instead, no, he comes out and goes, yeah, everything was great. And that's whenever I knew there was a problem. And it just hasn't gotten better since then.
And I mean, like I said, Raw did nothing for me as far as getting me excited for the pay-per-view tomorrow. I didn't sit there and watch the full 3 hours. You know, they open the show, Retribution comes out, they have contracts. I immediately turn it off. Don't care. Just completely uninterested. Flip back and forth between that and the NBA game that was on. And, you know, like...
And get more entertainment out of the NBA at least.
I'm getting my blood pressure is rising just thinking about Monday Night Raw again. That's how horrible it was. Like, then your 6-man tag, there's not even an end to. There's not even a finality to the match. You end with Retribution storming the ring. All these other people come out, and you know you have Orton hitting Drew McIntyre with an RKO out of nowhere to end the show. Orton standing tall. I'm over that whole match too. They you know, this ambulance match, they've ruined it with adding Keith Lee, then not adding Keith Lee, then adding Keith Lee again, and not adding Keith Lee again. Like, I don't even care who wins. I literally care 0% for any Raw matchup that is going to be on this pay-per-view tomorrow because of how bad the show has been.
I'm really looking forward to this upcoming week's episode of Raw to see how the ratings do, because there hasn't been one good thing all week that's come out of it. With as much as people have been, you know, really just crapping all over Retribution, the segment, I'd be surprised if, you know, they get a decent rating this week. It's been just barely over 1 million.
Yeah, but I believe it held steady from where it was the previous week. Yeah. This week didn't drop too much. Listen, at some point, you know, wrestling fans are smart, right? Smart marks, right? Mm-hmm. We're the dumb marks. They're smart marks. But at some point, you're insulting the people's intelligence by what you're putting on the TV screen. And if this was an actual TV series, Retribution would be the jumping the shark angle that would end the series, and they would have to cancel the show because there's nothing else that you can put on after it to bring fans back in.
And I like the line that you brought up about insulting the intelligence of the fans, because that was really Vince's whole promo in '97 when the Attitude Era officially kicked off. He came out on TV, cut that little promo and said, frankly, we're tired of insulting your intelligence. And it's just become full circle again.
You've done that since you started this angle of Retribution. The very first, supposed security footage of a group of people outside the Performance Center throwing Molotov cocktails at a generator. Like, come on, this is
I wasn't even invested that night.
It's garbage.
Yeah. There hasn't been one night where I've actually been invested in Retribution. The only thing that I've ever been invested in with the group is I just wanted to see who they were going to use with the group. I think all 5 people are talented, and none of them deserve how they're being treated right now.
I agree with that. And I mean, listening to Busted Open this week, Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca talking about it, and they, went through it. Bully Ray said, the only card that you could possibly have left, he said, if this was a hand of poker and you're waiting on your cards and you don't get it on the flop and your card doesn't hit on the turn and you're waiting for that river card and whether or not it'll come to make or break your hand because you're all in on the table, right? Mm-hmm. This is either going to be you're going to win everything or you're going to lose everything. The only card that they have left to play is to have a major announcement swerve, whatever you want to call it, with who the actual leader of Retribution is.
It's true.
Because to me, T-Bar or Dominic Dijakovic is not the world leader of Retribution.
No, and I don't think I don't think any of them are really strong enough on the mic to carry it. They almost do need someone that's going to be able to come out and be their mic.
But I can't even think of anybody that it could be that would make me go, oh, this makes sense now. I really honestly don't. I've tried going through and thinking of people, Samoa Joe was on commentary. He's been off the past couple weeks, so is he getting back ready to join in, get back in the ring again? Shane McMahon's doing his own thing with Raw Underground, and yes, technically you could do it with Shane, and you could, like Bully Ray said, you could tie it into where it's like Shane against Vince, and Vince has always looked over Shane and passed over Shane, and has always given more things to Stephanie and to Hunter, and that could be Shane, but that doesn't even really make sense. That's a far leap to make because of how Shane's been.
Yeah, and they kind of did that years ago with the corporate ministry. It's like Shane was.
I mean, hell, you even had that. You even had that back whenever Shane bought WCW, which led into the Invasion angle, which was another just horrible piece of business. But that was because they couldn't get the wrestlers that they wanted due to them being under WCW contracts. But I mean, I really have no idea on where they're going to go to even make this somewhat salvageable, because right now it is a hot, steaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah. And I agree. I don't know where it's going to go. It has to be leading to something, though, because this is
it's leading to a 5-man elimination match, old school Survivor Series style at Survivor Series. That's where it's leading to.
Maybe.
And then that means what? You're going to get 5 members from Team Raw against Retribution, and Team Raw is going to beat Retribution, so you run them into the ground again.
Just like they did Nexus, just like what we talked about last week.
What the hell is the point with this story?
Think about, it's 5 NXT talent. A couple of them, I don't love everybody that's in this group, but they all have talent. A couple of them, like me, I'm a fan of, and I think, she could be a future women's world champion. But doing this group, it's almost like their talent's going to have to shine through more than being Retribution.
I mean, everything that I've seen this week since they came out with their names and everything else and contracts, it's all been meme jokes.
Oh yeah,
Every single thing's been meme jokes.
Dodgeball, generic Dark Order.
Yeah, like it's been nothing but meme jokes, and to me, like that's flat out your audience telling you, this is garbage. This is a joke. We're never going to take this group seriously. Just cut the cord now and act like it doesn't happen.
What's the saying? You have to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah, Bruce Pritchard says that all the time on something to wrestle with him and Conrad. You know,
that's basically what these 5 people are going to have to do. They're going to have to, they get paid to do what Vince tells them to do. So they're going to go out there and they're going to have to cut these awful promos and do what Vince tells them to do. But when they actually have that match, their talent's going to have to shine through.
And the talent didn't even come through. You're like, these are NXT people, and granted, nothing wrong with NXT people, but you're thrusting them, and they're on the main event on Raw, and you can see in the work rate that everybody harps on. They're not ready for it. Mm-mm. They're not ready for it.
And why you would put Dominic, in the head position of this group whenever he really isn't strong on the mic? He has a heavy accent. And it's just like, to me, that doesn't make sense.
You brought up Dominic, so the other thing on Raw that I'm completely over...
I had a feeling you were going to transition to this.
Listen. Seth Rollins... Dave LaGreca actually liked the Rollins segment with Mysterio. He's fully interested and invested in the story and wanting to see where it goes. Bully Ray kind of feels the same way. I immediately turned on it and have no care in the world anymore. When you get Seth out there running the Maury Povich angle, and it's like, okay, you did this years ago with Eddie and Dominic.
Yeah, it's all.
Wait, it's not that. It's not Dominic. It's actually Aaliyah that is not your daughter, Ray, and she's carrying and consoling Buddy Murphy. Like I don't care. I don't care. It was horrible. It's been over. There's nowhere else to go with the story. I don't care. Again, another reason for me not to care about a Raw match on a pay-per-view.
And why is Dominic getting pushed so much on Raw? I expected... I guess
because Vince wanted Ray to re-sign and not go to AEW.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Now, don't get me wrong. Dominic, for what he's done in the ring so far as a 22, 23-year-old, has been really impressive. He's done well when he's been in the ring. And granted, he's been in there with Seth and Buddy, who are tremendous workers and can carry a match to make him look good. But with that being said, he's held up his end in those matches. So work rate wise, for how he is having his first couple matches and being in there with the performers that he's been in there with, I have no complaints against what he's done at all. It's just all the other stuff. Like, to me, your payoff was him and Seth after they went weeks with caning each other and him stepping up to fight for Ray's honor. Like, Payback, I believe Payback should have been the end of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Move on. Something different.
I felt like SummerSlam should have been the ending of it, but whenever Payback, it was a week later. Okay, it's just a week later. And then he's still on Raw every Monday. He's still doing pay-per-views, and it's just like, it's too much. It's like, if it was anybody else, they wouldn't be getting this big push. And I guess it's only because he's Rey Mysterio's son is he getting the push that he's getting. And I don't mind him in the ring. I don't think he has done anything bad in the ring. It also wasn't anything that he's anything that I really want to watch over and over again, though.
Do you think, based on the Raw shows that have gone on the last 3 weeks, basically from Payback till now, looking at the shows and what's gone on storyline wise and everything else, do you think the writers for Raw are people that legitimately do not care about wrestling and do not fully understand professional wrestling, and how to write for professional wrestling?
That's a good point. Because we don't know who the writers are. The rumor is that either Edge or Daniel Bryan's on Raw, and then the other one's on SmackDown, and then you have supposedly Bruce Pritchard running both shows was the last we knew, but then there was talk that maybe Bruce Pritchard was just doing SmackDown and Shane might be doing Raw. So we're not sure exactly who's where, but I think it all comes down. It doesn't come to the writers because we've heard so many in the past say they don't blame each other, they blame Vince. Because what we said earlier, you harped on it that it all comes down to Vince. He's the one that signs off on the show. He rewrites it, does everything. I think that this is what he wants to see for whatever reason, or is, maybe this is the best that he's getting from the people and he's adjusting it to what he wants to see. But I don't know if I blame the writers. I put, at the end of the day, because Vince is the one that has to sign off on it, I blame him.
Now, on the flip side of the coin, SmackDown last night, Friday night, that show for a go-home show before pay-per-view got me reinvested into wanting to watch the pay-per-view.
Okay.
For the SmackDown portion of the pay-per-view. Not everything was good. I didn't like everything that they did. You open the show with Sammy, Jeff, and AJ in the ring for a promo for the triple threat ladder match for the IC title. Then they immediately run a triple threat match between the three of them on SmackDown.
Which makes no sense at all.
You're giving away your pay-per-view match 2 days before your pay-per-view. Why do I want to turn in and watch your pay-per-view?
Yeah.
I've already seen it.
It's the same match. Now this time it's going to be with ladders.
It's going to be with ladders. No, hey, somebody's going to actually be crowned the champion at the end of it. Okay, so that didn't really work for me. The whole Otis being sued for the Money in the Bank contract with Miz and Morrison, I turned that off immediately. I don't care about that anymore. Any type of positive momentum that they had with Otis coming out of winning Money in the Bank and what they did with him and Mandy, that storyline that played out, he's just completely hit a brick wall now. They have nothing that they can do with him to get me back on board.
I don't think, and this could be just me, but when Otis won Money in the Bank, I just shook my head because I just didn't understand.
I thought it was going to be the first time that Money in the Bank would be cashed in to win tag team titles.
It so could be.
But if I remember correctly, I remember on an episode where Cole or Corey said that the Money in the Bank could only be used for the WWE title, for the World Heavyweight title, or because it's never been cashed in for any other belt.
Correct.
So then it's like, all right, well, you're not going to have Otis win your WWE championship, so what was the point in putting him with the Money in the Bank anyways?
It's almost like at the time, I think everybody maybe expected, at least I did, that it was going to lead to a squash match. You were kind of going to see like the Damien Sandow, kind of a Money in the Bank like that, But at least Damien Sandow was more entertaining leading up to it. You didn't expect him to win the title.
Right.
It was even whenever Cena had it, you kind of thought it was going to lead to a title win, but, he ended up losing.
Right.
I think he was the first one to come up on a losing effort, but, I don't see Otis winning, but at the same time, what we were just talking about with Vince, he could completely shock us and put the title on Otis.
Right.
Make no sense whatsoever.
So the rest of SmackDown, the other 3/4 of the show was really good, really entertaining storylines that I'm invested in and want to see where they go further. You had Bayley cut a promo on Nikki Cross and Sasha, furthering her and Sasha, done really well. Bayley is absolutely hated. They panned to the Raw fans in the Thunderdome, brother. Everybody had their fingers pointing down, booing Bayley. I know you signed up to get on, but you had issues with...
Yeah, I wanted to get on, but yeah, they wanted you on way too early, and I didn't have the time last night to get on for SmackDown, but I'm going to try, because I just want to know what the experience is, because I don't know if everybody that's listening has, been able to do it or not, but I want to at least find out, what it's like.
So I don't know if they're being coached to cheer or boo that way. I know LaGreca got on Raw, I believe, and he said that he did not have... He wasn't coached, you would hear somebody come across the screen like, all right, we're back in however many seconds, make noise, get loud, because we're going to pan to the crowd, you might get on, like, cheer, do that stuff, like, not necessarily like, oh, hey, Bailey's coming out, everybody boo. Like, it wasn't, he said he didn't have any of that, so.
That's good. I mean, at least they're getting more natural fan reaction still.
Right.
I would have expected more of the coaching.
So, which has been, like, rumored to be what was going on, so.
And Vince, I think this is, probably Vince's best case solution right now to where he can do what he wants to do. Like, he put the belt back on Roman because the fans in the arena aren't going to boo him out of the arena like they were. Luckily, he's changed Roman completely up, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. But, I think this is Vince's kind of what he's wanted for a little bit in a way, like where he can't get, they're not booing people out of the building the way they used to or anything, and, they can kick people out of the Thunderdome, if they're acting a certain way. And
yeah. So Bailey and Sasha, that whole storyline is still unfolding, still being done really well. You have Alexa Bliss, who is, I guess you would say she's turning into Sister Abigail, maybe?
Seems that way. It has me interested where it's going.
It does. They've been dropping hints and clues over the past 3 weeks. Started first with the multi-women's match she was in where she hit Nikki Cross with Sister Abigail outside whenever she heard Michael Cole say the Fiend's name. Like, got in a trance, possessed almost, came out of it, didn't really know what was going on. Same thing happened last week. Lacey Evans was in a match with Nikki Cross. Lacey was outside. Alexa was on commentary. Lacey was screaming at her and said something about, why don't you go get the Fiend or something like that. And Alexa stood up immediately in the trance, grabbed her, hit her with Sister Abigail outside on the floor. That led to the match between the two last night. During the match, the Fiend's laugh Bray Wyatt's laugh was being played over the speakers in the middle of the match. Mm-hmm. She froze in the ring, got in a trance. That gave Lacey the advantage. And then later on in the match, the arena turns red. The laugh comes on. The Fiend's face pops up on the Titantron. Says, "Let me in." Alexa fully snaps. Gets a DQ. Beats the tar out of Lacey Evans. Takes her out on the floor. Hits her with Sister Abigail again. It's just been done really well.
Yeah. Much better than a lot of other things.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, which leads into Roman in the closing segment, and we'll jump back to how they tied Roman and Jay throughout the show. But Alexa walks up the ramp, Roman's music hits, he comes out. Here's where they did a really smart thing. And it's real subtle, but it furthered the possibility for things to come. Yeah. Foreshadowing, if you will. They do a camera shot, and shot on an angle. Roman comes out, shot on an angle. Over Roman's shoulder, Alexa Bliss stops, turns around, and just stares daggers through Roman Reigns, as if the Fiend is telling her to do this.
So, I mean, they really set it up, the camera angle, just like it was the Fiend, possessing Alexa.
Yeah, it was shot really well. Then she goes to the back, Roman comes out. So that's the second storyline that I'm really intrigued by on SmackDown. And then the last one is Roman and Jay.
And who would have seen that coming?
Nobody. But WWE does. This is the one thing that WWE never gets wrong. Their video packages.
True.
Whether it's main roster or NXT, their video packages for matches are top notch. Don't really see it being beat anywhere else.
No.
Right? They play a video package. Well, let me rehash and set the scene. Because I don't believe you watched SmackDown.
I didn't, no.
Alright, so let me set the scene. They announced towards the end of the first hour that Jay and Roman will have a face-to-face.
Okay.
They run a video package for Jay and Roman leading to the end of the first hour. So it involves backline, history, story, them two growing up. Basically saying Roman was born to be the top guy, the tribal chief of the family, right? You had Rikishi was in it, Jimmy was in it, talking on behalf of Jay. You had Alpha Sika, we're talking about Roman, done extremely well, right? So that gets me invested more in the story than what I already was.
Yeah.
Jay comes out, grabs the mic, cuts promo, wants to know what the look for was with Roman's face last week as he was leaving, and Roman was looking at his back. Roman doesn't come out. They show him and Heyman sitting in his dressing room watching Jay on a monitor. Then Paul Heyman comes out and makes an announcement saying he really wants and knows that everybody deserves Roman and Jay to talk face-to-face about what's going on. However, it's not going to be on Jay's time. It's going to be on Roman's time when he feels the need to go out and have that face-to-face.
Okay.
That fast forwards to the closing segment, right? Roman comes down, gets on the mic, starts talking. Jay comes out. Roman cuts probably the best Roman Reigns promo I've heard him cut since he's been on the main roster. Tells Jay if he could, he would give him the belt. But Jay's not built to be the top guy. Jay can't handle everything that being the top guy means. The media, the press, the constant 24/7, 365 work that it takes to being the top guy. Jay's not built for that.
Okay.
It's always going to be Roman. It always will be Roman. He's the head dog that sits at the top of the table, provides for the family. The family needs him. So, Jay, take your ass whooping like a man on Sunday, but you're not going to beat me for this belt. Okay, he leaves. Jay picks up the mic and goes, what if? What if? Roman turns around and looks at him like, are you serious? I just told you you're not the guy. Mm-hmm. Why are you even talking to me right now? Jay's like, what if I beat you? Why can't I be the guy that provided? I have a wife and kids. I can be the guy that leads the family. What if I beat you? Roman walks away. Jay leaves. Roman hits him with the Superman punch, lays him out, and then grabs him by the back of his head, shoves the title on his face, and just eviscerates him with words that I don't think were possible for Roman to do. No idea Roman could be that guy.
I mean, it's for me. I think it's got the credit's got to go to Paul Heyman. I mean,
not only that, but I did listen to Corey Graves' podcast this week because he had Roman on.
Okay.
And Roman has said that, yeah, Paul's an added layer, and that's great, but this persona that's slowly going to unfold in the following weeks and however long this run for Roman's going to be, this is what he always envisioned himself being on the main roster.
Okay.
And they brought up back when they were in FCW and NXT, Roman was the thoroughbred of NXT. That's what he called himself. Yeah. That's what Dusty saw in Roman. Dusty told Roman, you have it, baby. You can't sell it. You can't give it away. You have to accept it.
Yeah.
Learn to love it because you have it, I, capital T, exclamation point.
And I mean, I remember watching Roman in NXT, and he wasn't on NXT much, you know, because, I mean, I'm just talking the NXT program. I'm not talking about live events or anything like that. But he would come out, you know, had completely different look, and he just had swagger about him. You know, he would come out, and his whole thing was whenever he got to the top of the ramp, he would sign his name in the sky, you know, and then he would walk to the ring. And it was just something different. And you could tell that he had something, that he had the look. You know, you didn't know right away if he was going to be able to do it in the ring, but you could tell that he had the look. And it's you could tell he had something with the Shield, but after 5 years or whatever of being the same character in the Shield, it just got burnt out, and it's nice to see this change.
And he said that on Graves' podcast. He said, I can draw money any way you want me to go.
No.
He goes, this new persona that I'm unfolding and I'm showing to people, that's going to be money. He goes, I can throw on the tactical vest and I can go out there in my sleep and do the old Roman, no problems, and that draws money. He goes, but part of me coming back, I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So
I think he had to.
Don't expect him. He said that I heard in another interview. He said Sunday, gear wise, I believe he said he'll have on the pants, but he's not wearing the vest. He'll probably won't have a shirt on at all.
Okay.
And he said eventually he would like to get new music.
Okay.
Which we've been saying from the get-go.
Yeah.
You got to get new music.
Yeah.
Get away from the big dog tagline. Get away from that. He's the tribal chief, that runs the island. Make this a separate character, and new gear, new presentation, new music, all that stuff goes into that. So eventually he would like to get new music to transition over so it fully cements him as being a new persona.
Yeah, I think new gear and new music would... I think the character is already there. When he's... what I watch, now, when I see him, I don't necessarily see Shield Roman. So you just need... Everything else needs to come full circle with it to complete the package. And it really reminds me of whenever, Paul was running ECW back in the day, and I think he would say something along the lines of, you have to, hide the negatives of a person and accentuate the positives.
Look to their strengths.
Yeah, and
Russo did that really well. For all the flack that Russo gets for whenever he, wrote Raw and in WCW, Russo was really good at finding the one or two things that somebody does extremely well, whether it was character standpoint or in the ring wise, and that's what he accentuated and focused on for that individual. You get more mileage out of people that way.
Exactly.
Like you said, Heyman was a master at ECW. Look how many people were over in ECW.
Yeah. Because
matches were short, promos were short, certain people did certain things, and that's all that they did.
If you weren't good on the mic, you didn't talk. If you could only do it in the ring, that's all you did. Look how over Lance Storm was in ECW.
The Sandman, the best part of the Sandman was the entrance.
Exactly.
He wasn't the best worker in the world, but man, you get that entrance and that electricity and that crowd,
that got the crowd going.
Right? So yeah, I really think that they're letting Roman run with this and having him do it his way, and I feel like he has a lot of input on this chapter of his career, and it's well deserved. I mean,
I don't know if Paul's completely, to give the credit to, but going back to what I was saying, I just think, what was everybody's biggest complaint before with Roman? He would go out there and have these long-winded promos that would talk about nothing, and now he's direct to the point, and the words he's saying matters.
Right. So I don't know. Like I said, it's been done really well. It got me backed in to wanting to watch the pay-per-view tomorrow.
I think Jay's going to really carry the match, because I think that's what he does best. All the matches that the Usos and the New Day have had. I think we're going to see something different out of Roman. I think we're going to see some decent stuff out of Jay too.
And it's Roman's first singles match back after 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So whether or not his cardio will be up to form, I don't doubt any of that. I think he's coming in great shape. He looks fantastic.
Now it's two cousins going out there basically playing.
Yeah, my wife came in the door and she goes, "Is that who I think it is on TV?" And I'm like, "Nope, keep it moving." No, keep it moving. Yeah. So I may have to.
Any thoughts out of that?
Yeah, may have to go get a Roman Reigns costume for Halloween this year. Might actually get somewhere after 10 years of marriage. But
gotta spice it up every now and then.
Gotta spice it up somehow, right? Maybe I'll have his theme music playing in the background instead of like the 70s porn music that used to play. But
your sexual chocolate theme music when you need it.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean he is where he's supposed to be at right now. I'm really enjoying Roman. I know a lot of people were turned off by him because of how he was pushed in the past, but I think this is going to get him. I think he'll be viewed in a different light after we look back and see this run of this chapter for him.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see that. Predictions for the pay-per-view, I don't care to give any.
Okay.
I really don't. Like I said, I can care less about anything on the Raw side. Like, not interested in anything at all. SmackDown-wise, I don't even know all the matches of SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Roman dropping the title at all.
Roman's not going to drop the title. I can care less about Cesaro and Shinsuke against the Lucha House Party. Their Lucha House Party is going to break up.
I don't see Bayley dropping.
Bayley's not going to drop. Like I said, I really think Bayley and Sasha could headline WrestleMania 37 if done right. I really strongly feel that way. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. But
I guess really the only one would be Intercontinental, and I'd like to see AJ win. I don't see Sammy winning, so.
But you just had the match.
Yeah.
Sammy won last night, so obviously that tells you if you know WWE booking. Sammy won the match before the pay-per-view between the people that are wrestling on the pay-per-view, so that means that person who won the match of the people that were wrestling on the match before the pay-per-view match is not going to win the pay-per-view match.
And usually who's ever standing tall at the end, too, doesn't go over.
Which was AJ.
So we could probably see Jeff Hardy, I guess retain the Intercontinental title, but I'd like to see AJ win just because I felt like his title reign just abruptly ended for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that either. But that I know we dived in heavy there in the WWE this week, and I feel there was a lot there to get into with especially how shitty the week started out with Retribution. They did make up for it a little bit on SmackDown on Friday to kind of get me interested in again. Anything else from wrestling, the world of wrestling this week that you want to touch on?
I mean, the only other show that I really watched this week was NWA, and I really liked this week that, I said last week was very heavy wrestling with a 7-match show,
right.
90 minutes. This week they cut down to 5, which was good. Thunder Rosa and Priscilla Kelly was the main event. It actually got a half hour.
Nick Aldis absolutely loved that match and tweeted out, "These two women are killing themselves right now."
Yeah,
in an absolute war. So that was a really good main event. And Thunder Rosa, you want to talk about somebody whose stock has just skyrocketed.
Yes,
she's been on point in every single match. She was on point on TNA on Dynamite. She defended the AEW. She defended the NWO Women's title 3 times in 6 days.
Yes, incredible.
And then had a fantastic tag team match on Dynamite on AEW.
It's almost like old school territory days, like whenever like the champion like Flair would just travel and fight every night in a match and give his all, and then, okay, we're done with that one, move on to the next time.
And you don't hear anybody talking about how bad the AEW women's division is anymore, right?
No. It's her and Sheeta. Yeah, they've elevated it.
And I know the last 2 weeks they've had, Ivelisse and Diamante to go with, who again are both very strong workers.
Yeah, I think we need to give them credit too.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa deserves all the flowers that she's getting right now from everybody, because she has been nothing short of spectacular.
Exactly.
Dynamite this week, thoughts, feelings, anything that really stood out to you?
Honestly, other than Thunder Rosa, no. I mean, they had their issues this week with COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah, and rumor is they're kind of handling an outbreak in and of itself. I like the ability of them to adapt on the fly.
Yeah.
So you switch from the 6-man tag. You have Moxley versus Kingston. Kingston comes out, cuts the promo. Hey, I was never thrown over the top rope. I deserve this. After 18 years, I deserve this.
And I don't think that this was definitely something they didn't plan, but it was definitely a great plan B.
Absolutely. In that match, you want to talk about just a hard-hitting, just... Normally, I'm not a fan of the back and forth, let's chop each other, because in a real fight, you're not going to do that. But with them two going at it, it was more of a, let's see who the bigger man is. Yeah. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. If you take it, great. Give me your best shot back.
Yeah, I think it was Moxley basically saying, hey, this is your shot. Let's see what you got, and just roll with it.
Right, and they, and then they end the show great as well, with the, Lucha House Party coming down, or not Lucha House Party, jeez, oh man, I'm so fired up about just the Lucha Brothers coming out. They work over Moxley. Then you have Will Hobbs comes out, who hits one of the best spine busters I've seen in years. Like, that move should be his finisher.
You think Arn was helping him out with that one?
I don't know if Arn is or isn't, but I tell you what, Arn will definitely sign off on him using it, because that should literally be his finisher. The way he hit that spine buster on Phoenix was impressive.
I don't know what Will Hobbs' finisher really is, but if it's not that's a great setup move for the finisher.
Yeah, and Ricky Starks, the spear he hit on Darby Allin too, was another move that was just like, whew. You had the heel stand tall to close the show.
So speaking of Ricky Starks and Darby Allin, this didn't make sense. I think is it this upcoming week they're going to fight?
This upcoming week they're going to fight.
And I don't understand that. Like, why this isn't either being saved for the anniversary show or Full Gear.
Well, so this week is the celebration of Jericho's 30 years in wrestling.
Okay,
that was this week. Oh, the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this week we got a regular episode, then the 7th will be Jericho, and the 14th will be
the anniversary. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing it this week then. Maybe they have to change with everything's going on. We don't know who is in and who's out in AEW right now.
Yeah. And that can change week to week right now too.
I guess that loose ships, AEW or WWE COVID promo cut way back in the beginning by Taz doesn't look so good now optically, right? Dynamite was a good show. I always enjoy watching it. The 2 hours fly by. Ratings wise, it did what it's done over the last month. It's held steady of 830 plus. I was really impressed by them doing 585 views for late night Dynamite on Tuesday night.
Yes, I was too.
So that came on at 12:30 in the morning. You have 585,000 people watch. Like, that, to me, that shows AEW has a strong base, and they're only going to continue to grow fan-wise.
Yeah, and what NXT this week did, I think maybe 685, somewhere around there.
AEW's Late Night Dynamite beat NXT in the male 18...
In the demo.
Which doesn't...
And it wasn't too far off from their overall rating.
Right.
Only like around 100,000 difference. That's not much.
And you didn't have the big, huge names on Late Night Dynamite either.
No.
So, strong showing from AEW. Cody comes back. The black hair Cody. What do you think about the black hair Cody?
I think that's probably for that show that he's filming with Stephen Amell. That's probably why he had to change up the look.
So you don't think it's heel Cody like everybody was immediately tweeting out?
I think that's why he's doing it, was to show a different side. But we'll see where this leads. I'm hoping the title goes back to Cody. I'm kind of over Brody Lee with the TNT Championship, but
I know you said you were over the whole Brody Lee Dark Order. I really liked the promo he cut after the match. The whole your wife with her thirst trap shots on Instagram was a good line. I think he really brought it on the mic, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
It could easily turn south because, like you said, you're already over the Dark Order. They really haven't booked the Dark Order the way I thought they would.
No. And I think a lot of this has to do with COVID. AEW, and I'm going to say everybody in wrestling is just held back. And unfortunately, WWE and AEW being, the two main shows on TV, I think they've really held back on what they're pushing forward, and AEW is now starting to do more because of them having fans in the audience again, but whether that keeps going because of the COVID stuff, but which I think I heard anyways, it wasn't necessarily the fans and the wrestlers, it was more the wrestlers were going to do like autograph signings and other indie events over the weekends, and they think that's where it came from. So it might be AEW having to restrict like what they do, outside of AEW now.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I know there was a lot of other wrestling that went on this week. Impact had a solid show. They've been consistently putting out good shows for being Impact. ROH and New Japan, G1 and Pure title tournaments continue to roll on. NWA, again, with their second show, Nick Aldis said that Power will be back. It's not dead. So we'll see where that goes. So a lot of interesting stuff besides the crap that went on Monday night.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with the pay-per-view and what goes on with Raw on Monday night. But I may be officially checked out from watching Raw from now on and just
I don't blame you.
getting clips and highlights. So, all right, guys, that's this week Bell to Bell, and enjoy the rest of the show. Chug, 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 chug. This week, Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by that late night Taco Bell run being the best meal ever. It really is. It's the best meal ever, right?
It's just the right time.
Just the right time. Although next morning when you wake up, not so much. But on that late night Taco Bell run, doesn't get much better than that. Shout out to Sierra Nevada last week. We reviewed Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest on last week's Drink of the Week. Giving the Dunmarks podcast a like and a follow on the review of the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. So again, if you haven't tried it, go out, get it. It's a delicious Oktoberfest that you will not be disappointed by. And Chris, what are we going to try today?
All right, Steve, this week we have Whole Hog Pumpkin Ale. This is actually one Steve brought by this week. You said this is one of your favorites.
This might be, actually no, this is my favorite pumpkin ale out of all the pumpkin ales. So salute and take a taste.
All right.
So good when it hits your lips. So good when it hits your lips. Well, he's going back for sip 2. He might finish the bottle.
That is a really smooth pumpkin ale.
So good, right?
Yeah. That is
so good.
It's probably the first pumpkin ale that I've had that I'm actually tasting, like the pumpkin or the yam, and it almost coats my whole tongue, like for the flavor profile.
So funny that you mentioned that again. You're 2 for 2 with this. Your descriptions match what they write in their description of the beer. So for a Whole Hog Pumpkin Ale, right? What sets Whole Hog apart? Their savory pumpkin spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, and real pumpkin are perfectly balanced in this sweet, fully enveloping pumpkin ale. So they actually add real pumpkin into this beer as they brew it. And as you say, it is there. It adds just a tremendous flavor profile to the beer itself. And it stands out. It's smooth. It's refreshing. It's 7% alcohol, so these will do a little bit of damage there for you.
I was going to get you through the day.
Get you through the day. It's not heavy.
No, it isn't.
So, there's been times, and not to, make me out to be a professional drinker, but there have been times where I've been watching a movie or whatever, doing stuff around the house, whatever the case may be, where I've gone through and drank 6 or 7 of these and haven't felt like I've drank 6 or 7 beers. And then all of a sudden, that 7% comes up, with you can, and let you know you've had 6 or 7 of these. So
yeah, you're not a professional.
No, not at all. My jersey's in the rafters. Jersey's in the rafters. So great pumpkin ale. Like I said, this is my number 1 all-time favorite pumpkin ale. Yeah,
you might have got me on this one. Like I said, the thing that I really like about this is that I actually taste the pumpkin whenever I drink it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a pumpkin ale or any other type of fall beer that is heavily into the spices, But that's usually what I taste more than anything. I don't taste the pumpkin. I'm tasting, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, what have you. This is probably the first pumpkin beer I've had that the pumpkin really shines through.
Yep, super enjoyable. Love it. It is difficult to find.
Okay.
I think it's gaining in popularity over the years since I first tried it. So you may have to go to a couple different spots to find a case of it.
Where's Whole Hog out of? Here we go. It looks like Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay. All right, so the cheeseheads up there know a thing or two about making a good pumpkin ale.
So that could be why it's a little harder to find. Maybe they only release so much.
That could be too. But I would highly recommend it, guys. If you're out and you're looking for a pumpkin ale this time of year, by all means, scoop this one up. You will not be disappointed. And on that note, to give it a sumo rating on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos, I mean, it's my all-time favorite, so I got to go with a 5. 5-time pumpkin ale champion, Whole Hog.
I think I'm gonna do 4.75 on this.
Whoo, that's high praise because you don't get 5s.
No,
you do not get 5. So if I can get you at that 4.75, I know I've come through with a really good beer. And you're literally about to finish the bottle before the second time.
This is something that I feel like I could drink, a few of these and be fine with that.
All right, so Chris is running out to get a case of this after we're done with this segment. So as always,
Whole Hog, hit me up.
Yep, Whole Hog. Feel free to send us some samples by all means, and we'll definitely promote the shit out of this beer because it is absolutely delicious. So, as always, at the end of each Drink of the Week segment, we ask that you grab your plastic cups, your glasses, your bottles, your cans, your shots, whatever you're toasting us with this week. And here it goes to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. Salute. All right, folks, this week in sports, and it's going to be a busy couple of days over the weekend here. Looking at what's going on, last night we had Heat Celtics, Game 5. Tonight we have Lakers Nuggets Game 5. We also have UFC 253. We have Major League Baseball regular season coming to an end. In the WNBA, we have the Aces and Sun Game 4, Storm and Lynx Game 3. Stanley Cup Finals still going on, although that may be a done deal.
That looks like it's about to wrap up.
Yeah. Liverpool versus Arsenal, go Reds. And then Monday Night Football ends with a banger with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. So, busy weekend here in sports.
Yeah.
A lot going on. I watched the game last night. Boston manages to keep their season alive. They're now down 3-2 going into Game 6. We'll see if the Lakers can close out the Nuggets. The Nuggets are the cardiac kids of the postseason. They've already come back from 3-1 twice. Can they do it a third time? I don't think so, but we'll see here moving forward. With that, just a couple quick things that I want to touch on that I thought were kind of interesting and relevant here, looking forward to sports. So, the Browns and the Washington football team this week.
Okay.
I'm not bringing this up to talk about the mistake by the lake and the just garbage that is Cleveland, or the hot dumpster fire that is the Washington football team, right, for the on-the-field matchup. Why I bring these two teams up is because this weekend when they play each other, this will be the first NFL game with female coaches on both sidelines and a female official. So, like we said with the NBA, with Doris Burke calling the conference finals and the finals on radio as an analyst, and the NBA with their female coaches, NFL is making headways here with women, adding more women into the game on over there. The 49ers had a female coach in the Super Bowl last year. So shout out to those individuals. Jennifer King from Washington, Kaylee Brownson, and official from the Browns, and official Sarah Thomas making history on Sunday, so congrats to them. Sticking with the NFL, got to bring up the Steelers. Get a win, although not pretty last week against the Broncos.
Wins a win, though.
Wins a win. We'll take it. They play the Texans this week. The Texans have allowed the most pressures through 2 games by giving up 57 pressures on the quarterback.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson is running for his life. The Steelers' defensive front, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, and TJ Watt are in the top 10 in the NFL for most pressures on quarterbacks through the first 2 weeks. So, Steelers are favored. Looks like by that stat, it's going to be a long day for Watson and the Texans. He's going to be running for his life. But as we all know, and watching the Broncos game last week, the Steelers just love to make things interesting and love to give people high blood pressure and heart palpitations on Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m.
And make you earn that beer.
It's unbelievable how they do that. Like I don't understand why it's like that with them.
They've looked better than I expected them to this season already. So I think that's going to continue this week. But we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully they get another W 3-0. They're going to have to keep pace with Baltimore and Kansas City. And I know New England lost last week in Seattle on a goal line stand, but they look to be, just as good as they were when Tom Brady was there. So we'll see how the Steelers work out this week. Another bit of interesting news and some history here out of NASCAR. Now, I don't really watch NASCAR.
No, I don't either.
He's making a left turn, making another left turn. But, because this is a sports segment and they're sport, so we got to talk about this. And this is, exciting news and shows some real progress for their sport. Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan are teaming up to start a new NASCAR Cup Series team for 2021, and their first driver is Bubba Wallace.
I think this whole thing is to make a statement. I think that's what they're doing, and especially all the controversy that was around this past year with NASCAR. I think Michael Jordan's coming in and wants to at least say that we have every right to be here.
Yeah, and hopefully he stays in the background more as an owner because he hasn't really been the best of owners when it comes to running a successful franchise, because the Charlotte Hornets have been irrelevant since he's been there as an owner.
Even whenever he was with the Wizards and had ownership of
some of the draft choices he's made and all that, but he is Michael Jordan, and with Michael Jordan comes a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of new viewers, I believe, will turn into NASCAR because of this. They will be targeting a different demographic than they have in the past. And maybe this will help start the, chiseling away the stigma that is associated with NASCAR and the type of individuals that follow and love NASCAR.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that's what happens, because it's a lot of history there.
Yep, a lot of history there. So positive on that note. I know we talked about the Steelers, but us being from Pittsburgh, some news here with regards to the other Pittsburgh teams. Patrick Hornquist traded away from the Penguins this week.
I was really surprised to see that trade.
So was Patrick Hornquist, apparently. Apparently, he was blindsided by it. I guess a lot of people in the locker room aren't too happy with it,
Okay.
and are really upset by it. And listen, Patrick Hornquist, as good of a player as he is, in the contributions that he made to bring Stanley Cups to Pittsburgh, right? But let's not get this twisted. This isn't Mario Lemieux. This isn't Yager. It's not Gretzky. Not Messi or Messier. Like, not Sergei Fedorov back from the Detroit Red Wings teams in it. Like,
no, absolutely not.
Patrick Hornquist, right? Like, you gotta start to turn the team over at some point. Crosby and Malkin and Letang are coming up towards the end of their run. And if you're looking to maybe catch lightning in a bottle and win another Stanley Cup before they're done, you have to turn the team over. Now, I'm not necessarily excited about who they got in return for the trade, but we'll see how it works out here for them.
I agree. I think especially for how poor a performance they had this year, coming back after COVID, I think things need to change up. And I don't know if that little lightning in a bottle was your prediction on who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year or not, but
Nice.
I definitely see if they want to be contender next year, things need to change, and it might not be a popular move, but I think it's definitely a move that they at least had to make, to change something up and see what they can do for next season.
Right, and then the other Pittsburgh franchise that's finishing up their regular season, the Battling Buccos. So there was a tweet earlier this week that said the Pirates, and this was before games they played this week. I think they won a couple games this week. So
I haven't followed Pirates baseball, and I don't even know.
So the tweet came out. The Pirates have a .278 winning percentage that equates to a 45-117 record over the course of a normal 162 game season, which would essentially make them the worst team to ever play Major League Baseball during a season. Way to go, Bucks. Good job.
Hey, if you're going to be the best at something, go on. That sounds about right.
They, for as high as they were in 2015 and getting to the playoffs and having the city excited about baseball again, 5 years later and you're the joke of the league and you're right back to being in the bottom cellar. You're not even in the cellar. You're below the building. You're in the parking garage. Okay, it's a shame because of the pride and tradition of Pirates baseball and how Pittsburgh, the city itself, loves that team. But I refuse to go to the ballpark to watch another game. I don't. The PNC Park, probably the top one or two most beautiful parks in all Major League Baseball.
Place to watch a game.
But that stadium is now, 20 years old?
Mm-hmm. Probably going to change names soon.
So until you decide that you want to put a winner on the field, not that they're going to care about me not showing up to games because I'm one fan, but honestly, the team that they put out this year, I think if it was a normal time and we were allowed into the ballparks like we would and COVID wasn't happening, I really think the negativity towards the franchise and towards ownership would be at an all-time high after this year.
I agree. I think it's been the train, has been rolling on every year with the same thing. And like you said, a couple of years ago, whenever, it seemed like they were not necessarily getting things back on track, but, they were able to get to the playoffs and it kind of rallied Pittsburgh around the team again. They just proved that they don't care. I've never blamed any of the players because I think the players want to win. I think they want to have a good team. It's just management constantly shows that they don't care about the team.
Right.
They're not invested in it whatsoever. They're not invested in making a winning team.
No, and this goes back to what we talked about in Bell to Bell. At some point you insult the fans' intelligence. Yeah. I think we're at the point where, as a Pittsburgh baseball fan, you're completely insulted by what this team did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just horrible how they've handled putting talent out on the field as that's supposed to be a legitimate NBA franchise. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. Never will. And I don't think it'll ever turn around until you get new ownership in place.
I agree. Yeah, they need something to change. But unfortunately, ownership, many people have come out and said that they would like to buy the team, and ownership has said, no, we're not for sale. So, maybe, and who knows, COVID's changing everything up, so who knows, maybe with the loss of money, but profit sharing in baseball helps, keep them afloat. But, maybe with the losses, maybe, if they don't bring in money, within the next season, maybe things will change on that end and they'll have to sell. But, yeah, really for the foreseeable future, I think the Pirates are what they're going to be and nothing's going to change.
Yeah, and in college football world this week, SEC kicks off. They start playing games today. There's a couple good matchups in the SEC wise. We covered last week how the Big Ten has made their announcement to come back. The Pac-12 this week said that they're going to come back and start playing games in November. So it looks like all the conferences are back to being, back to playing football, which is good. I mean, they're, as long as you can keep everybody safe and protocols are being followed, it's good to see everybody back out on the field. So maybe we will get a true national champion, or as much of a national champion as you can, given everything considered, because they're not playing traditional games, traditional schedule like they normally would.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see them come back too, because, and I think, with everybody else that's coming back, I think most people just have to try something different. You don't have to have fans. I know as much as fans want to be back in the stadiums, for how many sports aren't doing fans, you don't have to do it. Just let the kids play and, follow protocols, and hopefully, these bubble games work the best they can do.
All right, and so, coming forward here, we'll once the NBA Finals are set, we'll give our predictions on who we think are going to win the NBA Finals, and keep an eye on college football and NFL. My fantasy football team, Snacks R Us, is 2-0 so far on the year.
Snacks R Us.
Snacks R Us, that's my team name, Snacks R Us. So we're 2-0, looking for 3-0 here this upcoming week. So keep that rolling along on the fantasy football tip. So interesting times, good games, good slate of games today in college football, good slate of games tomorrow NFL. Monday night's the big one, Chiefs and Ravens. Hopefully the Chiefs get a W, just because I hate everything Baltimore. And so that's This Week in Sports.
All right, boys and girls, that's another episode of the Dumb Marks podcast in the books. You know where you found us this week, but as always, make sure you like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. This week we are also now on iHeartRadio to listen to the podcast, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google, YouTube, Amazon, and Spotify. Steve, you want to take us home?
Yes, sir. And as always, folks, we like to close the show with a quote of the week. This quote comes from Connecticut basketball coach Gino Auriemma. And he says, if you go to class and you do average work, you get a C. That's why it's called average. If you want a B, you have to do more work. And if you want an A, you have to do even more work. You have to give up stuff. You have to sacrifice. So here's to all you dreamers, creators, and people out there that are striving to do better. Continue to do the work, and eventually you'll end up with an A. So keep pushing along. Don't give up. And until next time, you can catch us around the way.